Hey guys, I've modified my Instax to 10 and essentially it lets you take double exposures, and I've taken some videos along the way to give some rough guidance on how to do it and how it works. Alright, so first step is to remove a few screws, one there by the strap on the left, one by the right, and then there are two here, and then there's two just in there, and they are different lengths, so it might be useful to do something like this. Next thing you want to do is try and get a fingernail or something and pick along the edge of here, and then try and separate the camera in two. Alright, so it's a little bit tricky to do it at the bottom. There seems to be like a few clips or something, but it should, after you get the bottom, it should sort of just fall apart. Okay, well that was a little bit of effort. There's some sort of like little clips, it seems, along the bottom of the camera, and then there is a tiny bit of adhesive tape, it seems. It attaches here, so you get a bit of stickiness there. And then you have these little tabs which slot into here, making it, you can't just pull it apart, you have to also pull this piece slightly upwards, and then it'll come apart a bit easier. With the front off, you have two very small tabs here. One is there, you have to pull it back and off the little clip, and then you have another one just there as well. So if you unhook those, then you can take off the backing case. What you have is the blue wire, which is the power, and the green is the ground to this silver motor. It travels down with the rest of the wires, and normally it would be soldered onto where this black wire, this one, is on there. But what I've done here is I've just soldered it to another piece of wire, and then I'm going to attach a switch between these two, and obviously you need to run back to where it was initially soldered to. If you want to test that it works, the way that you can do that is you need to put in all 4 batteries, and then what you have here is a little switch. So it goes up on these Instax 210s, and that's how it activates. Usually that gets activated by this little tab here on the inside of the back of the case. So I just jammed a bit of paper and kept it in this up position, and from then I've took my, I took my buttons off, but you can literally just press, like put your finger over this top one where the power would be, and you should be able to turn it on. Make sure that all of these wires are connected, because the motor is part of the functioning for the lens coming out. Okay, at this point you will throw in 4 batteries. You should have that blue wire unsoldered from where this black wire is currently at the top, and that should run to a switch which has been very badly soldered, and then from that switch a wire to where it was initially soldered, and then you should have something jamming open this switch just there. I've used just a bit of cardboard, and from here you should be able to turn it on, and then it assumes that it's got a full pack of film in, so if you press that button there, it'll assume that's the black sheet. So you have 10 shots. You saw the motor was running there, so if you go again, just to test it works. That's taken. I'll forward the motor working, but if I flick the switch, This is hard with one hand. That's that. So that's disconnected the motor. So at this point, I should be able to take another photo, which I did this there. The motor didn't work. It's gonna basically have a little bit of a thing, and then it'll pop up with an error. There you go. I'm not sure how long this has to be going on for, but if you flick the switch too early, it will just automatically start to push up that slide. So I'm just letting this blink for a little bit, and then if I flick the switch, it's fine. It will still flash, but then you can take another photo and then the motor will work again. So that was your double exposure. If you end up using the switch that I used, it is very, very tight between the little LCD, but the wires can come up, go back down, and then route underneath these buttons, and then you can sort of just stuff them behind there. There shouldn't be an issue. I should have mentioned earlier, but you want to try and find a place before you do this where you can fit a switch. I found it quite hard to actually find a switch that was essentially small enough to really fit in the gaps that the camera gave. What I have here is actually I think it's a PCB switch, but whatever you go for, just make sure you have the clearance and then cut yourself a hole, file it off, and do whatever you need to do to make it fit. Here I've got some glue essentially just to hold it in place, because it will be stressed throughout its life. Make sure you put plenty of glue. I'm sure plenty of you could do a better job on the inside than me on here, but it works and it looks good from the outside. Finally, once the camera is all back together, you just want to make sure that the wiring all goes back in the same place. Clip the pieces back together and put the screws back in. So the way this works is it essentially just disconnects the motor from pushing the slide up. So you can do more than a double exposure, you can do 3 or 4, but just keep in mind that you'd have to do quite a few dark images, but I'm sure you guys can figure that out anyway. This was just the first photo that I took just to test it out, and it's not the best, but it works, which is pretty good. If you guys have any questions with it, feel free to let me know and I'll try and answer what I can. And I'm also pretty sure that this works on the Instax 100, 200 and 300.